The Johnsons were a cheerful family who lived in a cozy little house on Maple Street. One sunny afternoon, Mrs. Johnson peered out of her kitchen window and noticed a moving van parked next door. "Oh look, new neighbors," she exclaimed. Mr. Johnson and their two children, Lily and Jack, joined her by the window. They watched with curiosity as the Taylor family busied themselves with boxes and furniture. "Shall we go over and say hello?" suggested Mr. Johnson. With enthusiastic nods all around, they decided it was the perfect time to welcome the newcomers. As they approached the Taylors' front door, they noticed a little girl about Jack's age struggling with a box. "Do you need some help?" Lily asked kindly. The little girl, whose name was Emma, smiled gratefully. "That would be great, thanks." Soon, the two families were exchanging pleasantries on the Taylors' doorstep. "Welcome to the neighborhood," said Mrs. Johnson warmly. "Would you like to come in?" replied Mrs. Taylor, equally cheerful. Inside, the Johnsons were welcomed by the aroma of fresh spaghetti sauce simmering on the stove. "We were just about to have lunch. Please join us," offered Mr. Taylor. The Johnsons eagerly accepted, and soon everyone was gathered around the table, enjoying the delicious spaghetti. As they ate, the adults chatted about the neighborhood, sharing stories and offering helpful tips. Mr. Taylor mentioned he was an architect, while Mrs. Taylor was a teacher. Mr. Johnson worked at a bank and Mrs. Johnson was an artist. The children, meanwhile, had finished their meals quickly and dashed out into the Taylors' backyard to play. The backyard was a child's dream, with a large tree house, a swing set, and even a small garden where the Taylor kids grew flowers and vegetables. Lily, Jack, and Emma were soon joined by Emma's older brother, Tom. They instantly hit it off, bonding over a game of tag and then moving on to adventures in the treehouse where they pretended to be pirates searching for hidden treasure. Laughter and playful shouts filled the air, and it wasn't long before all the children felt like old friends. Inside, the adults watched from the window, smiling at the sight of their children playing together so happily. Mrs. Taylor turned to Mrs. Johnson and said, "It's such a relief to move to a place with such friendly neighbors. We already feel right at home." Mrs. Johnson beamed. "We're glad to have you. Here's to many more happy times together." As the sun began to set, the Johnsons reluctantly said their goodbyes, promising to have the Taylors over for dinner soon. They walked back home, feeling grateful for the new friends they had made that day. The Taylor family echoed their sentiments, already looking forward to the many adventures that awaited them in their new neighborhood.